Let's talk crochet. Hey folks, it's Mary, aka MercyTriumphs, and this is Slow Crochet. This is episode 084, and I am here to talk to you about everything that I've been crocheting this week. So before I get started, number one, I want to say the hat that I am wearing is a pattern called the Forest Green hat. And I just want to highlight it real quick because I think I'd like to make another one of these, maybe more. It's one of those ones that works from side to side, and I think you were working in maybe the back loops only, something of that nature, but you do end up making several little panels of short rows and then stitching them together. This is a hat that I've really been enjoying lately. Disclaimer, I don't really follow trends, but I live in a very kind of trendy city, lots of music industry people around, and I have been seeing this style of hat quite a bit that has almost like that funny, almost like cone head sense up there. Anyway, I think it's kind of funny, but it is versatile. So you can fold up the brim and it's so much more of that watch cap style. But yeah, I've just been enjoying wearing this hat, so I thought I might go ahead and highlight the pattern to you guys if you are interested in it. I do want to take a minute to say a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed and who has come along for this little YouTube journey. I think at time of recording, we're pretty close. We're about 100 people away from 4,000 subscribers, which is just beautiful and wonderful. I didn't really get into the YouTube game to gain a huge following. I just wanted to create something that made my heart happy. And so it's wonderful to me to see that all of y'all are here with me on this little adventure, talking crochet and being excited with me about yarn and projects and all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for being along here with me and for sharing my joy. So joy this week. Finished things are a joy and works in progress are a joy. Let me show you the things I finished first. So real quick, my friend Marsha over at Mimi Makes Keepsakes has been loving this retro stripe by Red Heart, and I decided to go ahead and make my corner to corner hat. Y'all, I had to go back and watch my own tutorial to remember how I did this, but I thought, how would that look in Red Heart retro stripes? So I put that together. I did just do a little bit of the brim in black by Red Heart, but that is one thing that I finished this week. So yay, I love how those colors kind of came together, and you will be seeing this hat in the near future as well. It might eventually end up being donated, but I do have a particular purpose in mind for this, so more on that in the future. All right, hat back on. Another thing that I did finish this week, and to be honest, I was going to save this for maybe like a big reveal because it is kind of an ongoing crochet along. You've heard me talk about it. It is Cassandra's crochet along, the book Whimsical Stitches by Lauren Espy. And in this book, there are copies that are going throughout the world and people are crocheting up those projects. And the thought is when someone else is making it, everyone else makes it too, if you want to. And then you can send in your photos to Cassandra, and she's kind of keeping this journal on her website of all the different people who have made these projects. Well, this is one that I didn't want to wait to show you. It is the turtle. So this is the pattern turtle, and this is how mine turned out. So quite a bit of difference there, which I don't mind, but this pattern, first of all, this is the first turtle I've ever made, but it did take a lot of my time this week, so I did want to go ahead and highlight it now because it is a finish and it is something that I'm proud of. I really do enjoy how she turned out. So I decided that her name is Victory Bell, partly because she has this real bell shape in her carapace, but I don't know, I felt like it was a victory to get through this pattern. I know there are plenty of other wonderful turtle patterns that might not require quite as much sewing as this one did, but just to be forewarned for anyone, you have the bottom separate, you have the carapace separate, you have the head and each of the flippers separate, and then you sew them together and then sew it all together. So none of these are crocheted together, and that was one of the challenges in this turtle. Now, the original turtle pattern calls for some more stitching along the back, which I started to do, and I was using the kind of cream variegated yarn, but it just wasn't showing up, so I thought, not really worth it. I'll just let her be what she is. Other modifications, I did not stuff her flippers. I thought they were a little bit more naturalistic if they were a little bit flatter rather than puffy. There you go, the puffed up idea. Maybe a little bit cuter if they're puffy, but I like to thread the needle between like the naturalistic things and the cuter things. Definitely not naturalistic in the eyes. I am practicing with Cassandra's eye tutorial for doing sweeter little embroidery eyes. I think they turned out fairly effectively there. She has already been loved on by my children, and now my only problem is, what am I going to do with all of these Amigurumi toys? I need to find a better solution because I'm just kind of filling up this space back here. So maybe in the future I'll make some kind of special basket or home for these things. I am going to do a few more things out of the Whimsical Stitches book. I only have it for another week or so. I will share more about that in the future. This little lady, I'm going to take a picture of her and I'm going to hold on to that picture until someone, either the book that's visiting in the United States or the international book, I'll wait till someone else picks her and then I'll send that photo in so I can participate in the worldwide kind of crochet along thing. But that is Victory Bell. She is a victory in my book and I'm glad to have her done. And yeah, it was a really great learning experience. And in terms of the yarn, I was using yarn from Hobby Lobby when I got one of those boxes of little minis. It was a bunch of these kind of more muted tones. I thought that this would be a really sweet kind of baby room decor idea. But yeah, so we'll see in the future where Miss Victory Bell ends up. I did use a size F hook. It's a vintage one by Hero, and I've really been enjoying that one lately for amigurumi when I'm using worsted weight acrylic. So that millimeter is right here. But yeah, that I feel like has kind of started to unlock a little bit of the issues I have with amigurumi, just finding the right hook to go with the projects. So happy days there. Thank you, Miss Victory Bell, for being part of my life. And yeah, we'll see her again in the future. Another work in progress that I just kind of started this week was another version of my Meet with the Dean scarf. I have two balls of yarn kind of connected here. I had some scraps and then a ball, but this is that tutorial that I posted this previous Saturday, and I'm just working it up in a loops and threads yarn. It's a solid black yarn with some flecks in there, so I hope that my lighting is awkward enough where you can see it. I mean, I'm even wearing black, but I hope you can still see that. I was just curious to see how this would work up, and I think what's going to happen is this is going to become another sort of interim project for me. In the same way that I do hats, I'll just work up a hat for donation really, really quickly if I need kind of a break from bigger projects. I think this will kind of fit that same bill. It takes about 100 yards of yarn for 2 feet of scarf length. So it's pretty easy to do with just 1 or 2 balls of yarn and make something kind of significant. And these also will go into donation. In fact, one of the people that I donate to recently thanked me for my donations and asked if I had any more. So it's really a joy for me to have some little projects that I can work on that can then go into that donate pile, and I know that they're making a difference in people's lives. They're not things that I necessarily have to keep, but they are things that kind of help me keep my crojo and break up the processes among the bigger projects. So speaking of bigger projects, I have 2 on the hook right now, and I've really been focusing on them primarily this week, so I have made quite a bit of progress. The first one is my Electron Shaw, which is just lovely. Okay, my row marker says I'm on row 23, or I've just finished row 23, and I hope you can see how that is coming along. So I'm still on my first hank of yarn. I'm using a DK weight yarn. The original pattern calls for you to hold together 2 yarns of a lighter weight, but I figured my yardage would be all right if I just went with a DK and I divided the yardage they suggested in half. I think it's all going to work out. I think it'll have more than enough, but this is one I really want to work on because I think once it's finished, it could probably be like a county fair or a city fair contender. I do want to submit several things to that fair, and so this is one that I want to kind of finish working on. Beautiful, beautiful pattern. I think it's getting a lot of attention right now. It's from Expression Fiber Arts, or at least that's not the designer, but it's someone who's promoting it. The original used Expression Fiber Arts yarn. And so far the pattern is really beautifully written. It's very easy to understand. It's very easy to get into a rhythm. And I'm loving how this is coming along. For this one, I am using a 5.5 millimeter hook, and I'm loving that as well. I'm not sure if the pattern is free. anymore. I have learned that with expression fiber art, sometimes they'll announce a new pattern and it's free for a certain amount of time. And then after that, it becomes a paid for pattern. So I have signed up to their email list just in case there's anything like this particular shawl that comes across my feed and makes me really jump for joy and want to grab it while I can. So that was the case for me. I got it while it was free. I hope it still is for y'all if you're interested. Speaking of interest, several of y'all have expressed interest in joining me in my endeavor to make an ugly Christmas sweater. Now I have to say, my husband told me that this is not an ugly Christmas sweater. He actually thinks it looks really cool. So y'all let me know what you think. I've been working on my version of the Mount Trimper sweater, and so far I have the front panel done, the back panel done, and I have done the neckband. So ta-da! Right, so what is this thing? All right, I'm gonna stand up for a minute so y'all can see. Da, 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 da. Front and back. All right, so in this pattern, I've modified by starting with the waistband, and I've also done the back in the same way. So I started the waistband and then I crocheted along there. I'm going from the bottom up. And then instead of making a separate collar, I decided to just crochet it on. In order to make this pattern really work for me, I decided to kind of map it onto a sweater that fits me really well. And so I was kind of gauging it, kind of comparing how this one was going to fit according to how that one did, kind of deciding how many more rows I needed to do, that kind of thing. But yeah, this thing is wild and wonderful, and I love it. I think it's so kind of out there in the way that crochet is being kind of out there right now. Like, I'm not trying to be trendy, y'all. I'm really not. But I do love that so many of the styles that I wore when I was younger are coming back. And I'm like, okay, why not just run with that and embrace it, right? So a lot of the kind of chunkier crochet, the kind of oversized, it's kind of in style to wear things that are distinctly crochet. So whether that's granny square things, whether that's oversized and using larger yarn, whether that's like the Taylor Swift granny stitch dress, you know, those things are very clearly crochet. They're not crochet trying to be knit. They're not being subtle about who they are. They're kind of screaming the craft. And I think that's one of the things that I like about this sweater so far. I am using a huge variety for me, at least in textures. And the ones that I really want to point out, I'm using some sparkle yarn, which I think gives it that kind of Christmassy flair. I'm using, I think it's Soft and Sleek. It's Hobby Lobby's version of Caron Simply Soft, so that's kind of a shinier texture. But then I also want to highlight this fuzzy here and the fuzzy in the collar. And those are Premier Aspen. I have it right here. This was actually an accidental purchase that I made a couple of years ago. I thought I was getting like a velour yarn and instead it was chenille. I wasn't sure how I was gonna enjoy working with it, and to be honest, it does have a few challenges, but I really think it is effective here. It kind of breaks up the more traditional worsted weight yarn. It even breaks up some of the Lion Brand homespun yarn that's also in here. And it just adds this fun little moment where already when I've tried it on, my children have come up and just rubbed their little faces on it. So I'm just imagining sweet snuggles, like, you know, when a child just nestles into your neck. They're gonna love this. So goal this week is to continue working this out. It is kind of a T shape, and so the next thing that I'm gonna do is start working across this edge here and crocheting the sleeves right on. I'm gonna try to do as I did in the front and back panels in terms of making them symmetrical. So sometimes that entails pulling from two sides of the same yarn ball at the same time to make sure that I get that even. So it's not completely random. I am being a little bit thoughtful on how I'm doing it. But there will be more of the pinks, there will be more of the creams, there will be more of the Premier Aspen, and there will be more of the Christmassy color in there. I do really like, actually, that Christmas print only comes out maybe once or twice in this sweater. There's only that little bit of green to kind of remind you that it's Christmas and not like Valentine's. But I think with all the chaos in these yarns and colors, I think it's more effective that I'm keeping it more like a calmer color story. Several of y'all have expressed an interest in joining me in this, and I do want to apologize straight up that I didn't turn this into a crochet along. But I do want to say, if anyone is interested in working on one of these similar sweaters, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and let me know. Email me your pictures. I'm going to try to be done with this by the end of the month. So August 1st would be my cutoff date, and I think I'm going to get there. So if you're working on one of these, please do let me know, and then when you're finished, you can email me the pictures, and then at some point in the future, I would love to highlight those pictures and kind of do a little bit of a slideshow or just a little bit of feature here on the channel. That would be a really fun idea for me, and I would also love to see how your interpretations of this Mount Trimper sweater that has morphed into a crazy Christmas sweater, using up those novelty yarns, those yarns that you just don't know what to do with in your stash that are maybe a little bit Christmassy themed, or maybe they're winter themed, or maybe they're autumn themed. Who knows? You can take it in any kind of way that you want. But yeah, do let me know. I'd love to see that, and I would love to have you on this journey. Again, it's not y'all, it's me for not inviting you guys into the process from the beginning. But I would love to do this with you if you're interested. And if not, I'm glad that you're here to kind of watch the process unfold. So that is all for me this week. It is a good week in the family. Children are away at camp, and hopefully that means I'll get a little bit extra crochet time. I have some fun things planned. In fact, by the time you're watching this video, the fun thing may have already taken place, and now I get to edit that one, so stay tuned. Cliffhanger. I'm excited. I'm always excited, y'all. I love talking yarn. I love that y'all are my yarny people, that I can share this joy with you, and I'm really glad that you're part of my life. It's been such a joy to connect with so many folks through this medium, and it's such an honor to be part of your life. Let me know what you think about the crazy Christmas sweater idea. Let me know what you think about amigurumi patterns that require a lot of sewing. Let me know anything else that you just want to talk about in the comments. I love connecting with y'all. And I hope that you have a week as brilliant as mine is looking like it's going to be. Y'all really do make my day. It is such an honor and a joy to be part of your lives, and I'm so thankful that you've spent some of your life here with me. If I'm not your cup of tea, thank you so much for listening this long. I really do appreciate you. I really do. And I do hope I'll see you again soon. Bye.